You've just found the ultimate guide to IELTS vocabulary. We've put together step-by-step guides on how Band 9 students improve their vocabulary at home for free. Plus, lots more techniques and strategies that we've only ever shared before with our VIP students. So sit back, relax, and get ready to improve your vocabulary. Is vocabulary important? Let me demonstrate with this sentence. So if I said to you, meet me at 11 p.m. next to the old cinema, you should know exactly what I mean. But imagine I take out some of the more functional words. So if I take out this, I take out a preposition, I take out an article. So I take out the functional, the grammar words if you like, and I said, meet me 11 p.m. next old cinema. Would you understand what I mean? If I said just those words to you, meet me 11 p.m. next old cinema. Sure, you would understand exactly what I mean because these words have meaning. But let's try it the opposite way around. Let's remove the meaning words. Let's remove these words and just leave the more functional words in. Let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of that. Let's just leave the prepositions and the articles in. And if I said to you, at to the, would you understand what I mean? You would have no idea because all the meaning is gone. So when I take out the words, when I take out the important words, the vocabulary, then you're going to really, really struggle. So this is to demonstrate that not only is it important for expressing meaning when you're writing and speaking, but if you did not understand those words, imagine you had no idea what that meant, that meant, or that meant. You would have no idea how to understand it if you were doing the reading and the listening test. So it's extremely important that you are improving your vocabulary every single day. And it's extremely important that you're not doing the wrong thing. If you enter IELTS vocabulary into YouTube and you sort by page views or video views, the two most popular videos on YouTube related to IELTS vocabulary are these. Use these 5 words to score high in IELTS speaking and memorize 1,800 words in 18 hours. Nearly 1 million people have watched this. Now, first of all, do not go to these videos and be nasty to the people who made them or leave nasty comments or say anything negative. This is not about being negative and it's not about bashing people. It's not about that. It's about giving you guys the right information. And the two most popular videos on IELTS vocabulary on YouTube perfectly illustrate the two main problems when it comes to learning vocabulary. So let's look at the first one. Use these 5 words to score high in the IELTS speaking test. So if I was speaking to the person who made this video, I would simply ask them these questions. Because what they are saying is, learn 5 words and you'll get a high score on the IELTS speaking test. So what I would say to them is, number 1, is the examiner a fool? I don't think they are. I think it's their job to do speaking tests day in, day out. And are you going to fool them with 5 special words? So imagine this. Imagine you go into the speaking test and your vocabulary is okay. Let's say it's at a Band 5, Band 6 level. And then you say these 5 words. Is the examiner going to be fooled into thinking you have an amazing vocabulary? No, because they're going to be basing your vocabulary score on all of the words you use, not just the 5 words. So it's just a basic misunderstanding of how the examiners are thinking about your speaking score. Will you use more than 5 words? Hopefully, all right? Hopefully in the IELTS speaking test, you're going to use more than 5 words and you're being judged on all of the words you're using, not 5. So is it a good idea to just learn 5 good words? No, it would be a silly idea. Will you be asked about a range of different topics? Yes, and the examiner will be thinking and listening for topic-specific words. Are you able to use topic-specific words for a range of different topics? Just learning 5 words is not going to help you with that. And is saying a word evidence of a wide vocabulary? No. Memorizing a word, just thinking about a word and using a word is not evidence that you have a wide-ranging vocabulary. You need to know how to use a range of different words, not just 5 words. So 2.4 million people who followed this video, and if you look at the comments, everybody is saying thank you and how amazing it is, because people are desperate. They really want some sort of magic system that's going to mean that they don't have to do any work and get the score that they need. And that's just BS, because there are no high-level words, there are no magic words, there are no diamond words, there are no golden words, band line words, or impressive words. If you are watching videos that talk about these, then just switch them off, and they are not showing you the right way to do things. If you are at a school, and I've seen this many times, where schools will get a booklet, or like they'll create their own textbook and call it like diamond words or band 9 words and give it to their students. It's just a list of words. That school is more interested in your money than there are in your IELTS results. There are appropriate words, there are accurate words, and that's it. That's the only way to think about it. Think about how you speak in your native language. Think about the last conversation you had with someone. Did you go into that conversation and think, how many diamond words can I use, or how many high-level words can I use? No, you just used the words that were appropriate, and hopefully you used them accurately. And those are the only two things that you think about when you're speaking in your native language or you're writing in your native language. So why do you think this is any different when you're doing the IELTS test? It really comes from people looking for an easy way out, a shortcut, a magic solution, because IELTS is very hard and it's a very high stakes test. People are pretty desperate and they will listen to people who are basically lying to them. If somebody's talking about these things, they're lying to you, they're marketing to you, they're not interested in helping you. And this is a very good quote. You can put lipstick on a pig, but it's still a pig. All right, you might have heard of this quote before. I can take a pig and put lipstick on it, it's still a pig. I can take a student who is at a band 5 and I can give them 5 words and even teach them how to use those 5 words perfectly, but they're still a band 5 student. They're not going to move from a band 5 to a band 7 until their whole vocabulary moves up to that level. Teaching them like 5 words is like putting lipstick on a pig. It's still a pig. And by the way, do not go to the person who made that video and start saying nasty things to them. That's not what it's about. It's about helping you guys as much as possible. I hope that you're enjoying this video, but YouTube can be a little bit confusing and overwhelming. So what we've done is we've created a free IELTS course called IELTS Fundamentals. What IELTS Fundamentals does is it just boils everything down into the most important fundamental things that you need to learn. It's designed to help you remove all of the stress and just get the score that you need in the quickest possible time by just giving you the information that you need. And it covers everything. It's 100% free and it has helped thousands of students get a band 7, 8 or 9. If you want to sign up for IELTS Fundamentals for free, click the link in the description. Thanks very much, and let's get back to the video. So that one is nonsense. All right, how about this one? Memorize 1,800 words in 18 hours. So you can probably tell from the title that this might not be that reliable. So is learning a list of words a good idea? So ignore the fact that this video is about learning 1,800 words in 18 hours. Most of the advice out there, most of the schools out there are teaching IELTS vocabulary in this way, learning some sort of list of words. So either a list of words with the meanings in English or a list of words with the translations in it. Does this actually help? So these are the questions that I would ask those people making those videos. Number one, is it a memorization test? Is IELTS a memorization test? Are they testing memorization? No, it's a language test. You cannot improve your language ability. You cannot improve your ability to produce language and discuss topics by memorizing stuff. It's just not a memorization test. It's like trying to put a square peg into a round hole. Do you have to use the word? Yes, and the key there is use. There's a massive difference between learning a list of words and learning the meanings and being able to use those words. You have to understand way more than that. For example, spelling, pronunciation, style, use, grammar, collocations. None of these are taught when you learn a list of words. because you're learning those words out of context. You're not actually learning them in the way that most people learn new vocabulary. My son is 4 years old, and I read to him every night. One of the reasons why I read to him every night is to improve his vocabulary. What I don't do is go home and say, Tom, here's a list of 10 words to read. Please memorize these. I've even seen this with some kids. Like some parents show their kids these videos that just say like duck, ball, like trying to teach them English. Like, that's not really helping them. Does it take time to learn vocabulary? Yes. Most people, many studies, academic studies have shown, most people can only learn between 10 and 20 words a day. Some people even fewer than that. Do you think you could learn 1,800 words in 18 hours? No. And why do people believe that? Again, they're desperate. They want a shortcut. They want an easy way of doing things. And another quote, a little knowledge is a dangerous thing. Like, imagine that I got this camera. I could take this camera and give it to a stranger walking past my office and say, watch one YouTube video on photography. Like, they could get that little bit of knowledge, and would they be able to then become a professional photographer? No. Learning lists of words is a dangerous thing. A little bit of knowledge is a very dangerous thing. So, the top 3 ways to summarize, the top 3 ways to lower your score. If you're doing these things, you are lowering your score. Number 1, focus on a small number of high-level or band 9 or high-level words or diamond words or whatever your school calls them is a terrible idea. You are not improving your vocabulary, and you're probably using those words incorrectly. Memorizing lists of words is a terrible idea because, again, you're not using those words correctly. You have to use the words, not memorize them. And number 3, focusing on speed, trying to do things as quickly as possible. Try and apply that to any other job that you're trying to do. Is doing things as quickly as possible a good way to do things? Not when you're trying to learn how to do things properly. So instead of focusing on speed, focus on trying to do things effectively. What does Band 7 vocabulary look like? When you talk to most students, they'll say things like big words, long words, complex words, high-level words. But when students normally ask me about this, or when we're talking about this and they say, how can I use more big words, or how can I use more complex words, what I'll normally ask them is, well, what's a small word? What's a simple word? What's a low-level word? And most students, the problem is that they have no idea what the difference is between a high-level word and a low-level word. So we're going to look at that today, and we're going to look at what is the key to getting a Band 7 or above when it comes to vocabulary. So this is the CEFR, Common European Framework, and you can look this up, just type in CEFR, and you'll get the different levels of English. So you have C2, C1, B2, B1, and then it goes down to like A2, A1. And they are equivalent to different levels in IELTS. So most of you watching this video want a Band 7, all right? So a Band 7, according to this is from Cambridge, I believe, or the British Council, it's around a C1 level. Band 8, Band 8.5, Band 9, around a C2 level, so you're proficient. So Band 7 is advanced level. So most of you think that high-level vocabulary means long, complex words, and low-level vocabulary means quite simple, short words, and that's actually not the case. So how do you find out, what level a word is? Well, there's a really easy way of doing that. Just go to Cambridge Online Dictionary, so just go to Google and type in Cambridge Online Dictionary, and put in any word, and beside the word you'll see C1, C2, B1, B2, A2, A1, and it'll tell you the level of that word. So what? What does this mean? Well, when you hear people talking about using high-level words or using complex words, they probably don't know what they're talking about. And you should only use the real evidence, the real facts, to guide you on this. Don't listen to someone who says, learn these 5 words and you'll get a high score. That's absolute nonsense. So, can we get a high score by using lots of C1 and C2 words? Most of you watching this video now are like, all I have to do is just learn lots of C1 and C2 words, put them into my essay, or use them in the speaking test, and I'll get a high score, right? Well, not so much. Let's have a look. So what I'm going to show you now is a really great online tool that you can use, and it's produced by Cambridge English, so the people who write the IELTS test, so you know that it's relevant and it's reliable. And if you type in Cambridge Text Inspector or Cambridge English Profile Text Inspector, what you can do is you can put in a text. So you could take the text from the Wall Street Journal here, just as an example, put it in, and it will look at all of the words, and it will give you a bar chart or a pie chart telling you which words are A1, A2, B1, B2, C1, C2. So you would think that really good writing means that there are lots of C1 and C2 words and quite a few B1 and B2 words and not many A1 and A2 words, because they're simple, right? So what I did was just take a random article from the Wall Street Journal, and the Wall Street Journal is quite, it's quite highbrow. The vocabulary in it is quite specific, it's quite high level, and put it in here. And what I found was, and this is pretty much the same of any good journal article or good newspaper, 36% of the words were A1 and 13% were A2. So 50% of the words were what most students would say are low level. So does that mean that people at the Wall Street Journal are like band 5 IELTS writers? I don't think so. And 14% B1, 10% B2, 23% the text inspector didn't recognize the words. But here, C1 was 3%, and the highest level, C2, was just 1%. All right, and if you go and download or look at some like really high level academic scientific journal articles or any sort of journal articles and put it into that, you'll find this kind of pattern. A tiny percentage of the total words are so-called high level, and the vast majority of the words are not. And if you showed that to most IELTS students and some IELTS teachers, they would say, oh, the vocabulary is not very good. It's not high level enough. So that's kind of flawed logic. And we can look at something else. What I'm going to show you now is from IELTS 11. So I just picked one of my official Cambridge IELTS books randomly. And this is a student sample that they give at the end of the book. So at the end of the book, I'm sure a lot of you have used these, they have student samples. I took part of a paragraph and one that said it was band 7, so it's probably band 7 vocabulary. And let's look at this one. Is it full of high-level words? Well, let's have a look and see. So, as character is concerned, and there's some grammar mistakes and everything, because that's what most band 7 essays would have. They would have some grammar mistakes. So we have the wearer of clothes, follower of fashion, another aspect, clean, ironed, grubby, very casual, smart, concerned. So the vocabulary that they're using, I wouldn't say most people would look at that and say, oh, it's really high level. Some of it actually is. Some of those words, such as grubby, ironed, follower of fashion is a nice phrase. Some of these words are quite high level, but the vast majority of the words are not. They are A1 and A2 words. So what does this tell us about getting a band 7 on the IELTS test? To get a band 7 on the IELTS test when it comes to vocabulary, you need to focus on the basics first. You need to be able to do the A1 and the A2 and the B1 and the B2 stuff first before you even think about trying to go up to the C1 and the C2 words. It's not like the examiner is going to look at your essay and you've made a bunch of mistakes with quite simple A1, A2, B1, B2 words, and you have 5 C2 words and you use those correctly. The examiner is not going to look at those C2 words and think this person's vocabulary is amazing. They're just going to think this person has memorized a bunch of high-level words and put them into their essay. They're not silly. And if you look at the vocabulary here, follower of fashion, ironed, grubby, smart, very casual, these are all wearer of clothes. These are all words and phrases related to one topic, which is fashion. And this is what the examiners will be looking at more than using a couple of high-level words. They'll be looking for your ability to use topic-specific words, because that will show them that you have a wide-ranging vocabulary. Because if you can use lots of fashion words, does that mean that you just study lots of fashion? Well, maybe if you really love fashion, but if you know a lot of fashion vocabulary, it's highly likely that you know a lot of other vocabulary about many other topics. So on the speaking test, they're going to ask you about a range of different topics. Why do you think that is? To test your vocabulary for one reason. Because if you can talk about fashion and maybe the environment and maybe education and maybe technology and use topic-specific words for all of those topics, you're proving that you have a very wide-ranging vocabulary. Not memorizing just a few high-level words, which might not even be high-level in the first place, as we demonstrated, but learning vocabulary properly and using it properly. So what can you do? Number one, don't learn lists of words. They're completely useless. Don't try and impress the examiner. You're not going to fool the examiner. You're not going to trick the examiner into thinking that by using 5 or 6 words that are high level, that your vocabulary is great. Walk before you can run. The number of people I see trying to use very high level vocabulary but getting the basics wrong is unbelievable. So focus on the basics first. You cannot learn how to run before you can walk. You can't learn how to walk before you can crawl. So focus on that first and then build up. And obviously improve your vocabulary. How will I actually improve my vocabulary? What will I do each day to expand the range of my vocabulary and improve my use of vocabulary so that I can improve my reading, my speaking, my writing and my listening? Everything on the IELTS test is affected by your vocabulary level. To thank you for making it this far in the video, I want to give you 10% off our VIP course. The IELTS VIP course is the most successful IELTS course in the world. That is a fact because we have more Band 7, 8 and 9 success stories than any other IELTS course in the entire world. We do that by simplifying the whole IELTS process, supporting you with some of the best IELTS teachers in the world and being with you every step of the way until you get the score that you need. All you have to do is just look down in the description, just click that and you can sign up. If you have any questions about the VIP course, always feel free to get in touch with us. We answer 100% of the questions that we get. Hope that you become a VIP. If not, enjoy the rest of this free video. So step one, if you want to improve your vocabulary, you need input. You need to input some vocabulary into your brain. And the best way to do that is either reading books or listening. Doesn't have to be books, can be reading, articles on a website, doesn't really matter, but you need some sort of input. What doesn't work is getting a list of vocabulary. A list of vocabulary with meanings or a list of vocabulary with translations into your own language. That does not work at all. You need to learn and notice new words in context. So that means basically reading books or reading any sort of material, as long as it's in English if you want to improve your English vocabulary, and listening to something. Again, it doesn't matter, just as long as it is genuine English, real English, not a list of words. And if you really want to improve your IELTS scores, you should be reading and listening to English every single day anyway. The number of people that come to me and say, I want to improve my reading, I want to improve my listening, and they just never read or listen to English is stunning. And this could just be 5 minutes a day or 10 minutes a day on your way to work or before you go to bed or when you get up or on your lunch break. But find some time each day to read and listen. The question that everybody asks when we say read and listen is, What do I read and listen to? Many students think that there's some like specific books or specific podcasts or specific shows that they could listen to that is going to magically improve their vocabulary. Number one, the main thing is just read something you enjoy reading or listen to something you enjoy listening to. Why is that? Because you're going to have to do this over a long period of time. You're going to have to do it every day or 4 or 5 times a week. If you're reading something really boring, are you going to do that every day? No, and you're not going to really enjoy doing it, and our brains just don't really, process information and learn as quickly as when we are enjoying something as opposed to doing something when you're really, really bored. Doesn't matter if it is a book about cricket or gardening or football or celebrity gossip, it doesn't really matter as long as it's in English and you really enjoy it. The other thing that you can do if you're specifically trying to improve your vocabulary for writing is look at some of the common Task 2 writing topics. So it doesn't have to be the BBC News, it can be any news site in English. But if you look at any news site, and I just took today's BBC News, you'll have a look up here. Education, health, science, technology, business, these are all common topics, especially education, health, science, technology. These come up on Task 2 all the time. So what do? Click on those and you'll find a range of different stories that you can read every single day. So if you just spent 5 or 10 minutes every day reading these, how much better would your vocabulary become, and how much better would your idea generation and developing your arguments and thinking of explanations and examples? It's going to help everything when it comes to writing. And again, it doesn't have to be the BBC News, it can be anything, but just get reading, get doing something. So step 2, notice and guess. So let's say you went into here and you clicked on technology. So I clicked on here and I found this article about SpaceX sending their capsule up to the International Space Station. All right, so it's about space exploration, which is actually a topic that comes up quite a bit on Task 2. So when I'm reading and I'm trying to improve my vocabulary, what I'm doing is I'm noticing any new words or words that seem a little bit strange that I don't quite understand. So imagine I'm reading this and I see commercial astronaut, America's new commercial astronaut capsule. So that seems a little bit strange. Commercial, like a TV commercial? Why are they talking about a TV commercial when it comes to that? Or maybe it's something different. So what I would do is I would first underline it, or if you're listening, you could just note it down. And then what I'm going to do is very, very important. I'm not going to take that and just highlight it on my phone and immediately look at the meaning, because that's not going to really help us. And this is going to teach us a very important skill, not only for the IELTS test, but for when you move to an English-speaking country. Because on the IELTS test, and when you move to an English-speaking country, you're going to notice and hear new words all the time that you don't understand. So it's really important that you get used to guessing what they mean from the context. All right, guessing what they mean from the words around it, from the title, from the paragraph, from the words around it, and try and guess what that means. It doesn't mean that you'll be able to accurately guess every single time, but you need to develop that skill. 1, you'll develop that skill, which is really important, but 2, by guessing the meaning, it's going to help you remember the word and use the word more effectively in the future. So what I would do is, so this is the word, it might be multiple words in one article that you don't really understand. So let's say, I don't know what this word means, and I don't know what this word means. So I try and guess what they mean, and then we'll move on to step 3. Which is note them down. Now, there are many ways that you could note new vocabulary down. You could go to a dictionary like I have here and just copy and paste all the dictionary definition and all the information you need, and paste that into an online document or some app on your phone. I think actually the best thing to do is to get a notebook like a traditional paper notebook and actually write this down, and you'll have a notebook that is your vocabulary notebook. Like there's nothing else in it, only new words, and then you have it in one place and you can review it at your leisure. I think it's a nice feeling to have a notebook of all your new words, and you can see that accomplishment, and it'll keep you going and keep you motivated. But what you want to do is have some sort of either an electronic or paper note of each word. So I've taken the word from this commercial, and I figured out that it's not a TV commercial, it's actually an adjective. So they're describing something. And look at all the information that they give you here. So this is from Cambridge Online. So they've given you the type of word, they've given you the pronunciation, you can listen to the pronunciation, they've given you the level of the word, they've obviously the definition, they've given you some examples here, some more examples, some different ways of using this word, so the use. But you could also add in, importantly here, synonyms, antonyms, collocations, more examples, using it in context. You could other word forms, like when it's used as a noun, because this is the amount of information that you need in order to remember the word, but more importantly to be able to use the word and review all of your new words. This is why just having a list of words with translations or meanings is pretty much useless, because it'll go in this ear and out this ear. You're not going to remember it, and you're not going to be able to use it, and that is the goal. Especially in the speaking and writing test of the IELTS test, we want to be able to use the vocabulary in a sentence correctly, after all. So get yourself the best students that I've worked with, the most successful students, and any students who join my VIP course, one of the first things that we tell them, get yourself a notebook, a vocabulary notebook, read every day, listen every day, note your new words down. But that's not the final step, obviously. Final step is review. All right, so imagine you have 5 new words a day or 10 new words a day. After 6 weeks, you're going to have, you know, your vocabulary book is going to become pretty full. But you need to review these words, because again, the goal is to be able to use them in sentences. And there are a few things that we need to consider when reviewing. First of all, your repetition. You're going to have to do this regularly. So you don't have to do it every day, but you could do it, you know, once a week and then review them again a week later or a month, but you're going to have to do them over and over again. That is not exciting. You're going to have to be disciplined, but that is how our brains are going to remember these words. And not just looking at them, not just reading them. That isn't going to help you. You have to be able to use them in context. So this word, commercial, so how could I use this? How could I write a sentence, or how could I talk about this in context, the context that is normally used to talk about commercial as an adjective? So I would write sentences, or I would talk about it, and you can make up games, or you can do all sorts of things with multiple words in your vocabulary notebook. This is an optional step, but a very, very important step, which is get feedback on your use of those words. Are the collocations correct? Is your use correct? Is the grammar correct? And that feedback is really going to help you. So you can, get feedback just yourself by writing an essay and trying to use as many of those words as you can, or recording yourself speaking and then checking the grammar and the vocabulary. Or you can get a teacher or a native English speaker or a very high-level English learner to help you with that. But that is really the thing that is going to make the most difference, getting the feedback that you need. So, to summarize, input, reading and listening, notice new words, guess what they mean, note them down with all the information that you need, and review, and most importantly, use those words. And make this a habit, all right? So make it like, let's say you have 30 minutes a day to do these. Spend 15 minutes, for example. You don't have to do exactly this. I'm just talking theoretically, but let's say you have 30 minutes in the morning, 15 minutes reading and noticing new words and noting down new words, and then 15 minutes trying to use those words and reviewing the words that you have. If you did that every day over an extended period of time, how great is your vocabulary going to be? much, much better than going to some school that gives you a list of golden words or diamond words, which is a complete waste of time. And many of you are probably thinking, is there a faster way? So you're thinking, that seems like a lot of work and it seems like it's going to take a lot of time. If you think there's a faster way, let me know in the comments. I don't think there is. I've never met a student who got a high band score by, for example, looking at a list of words or memorizing, 5 words and using them on the test, but feel free to disagree with me. But if you think this is a waste of time, then that's kind of like going to a gym and saying that you want to build muscles, but you don't want to lift any weights and you want it immediately. Things take time. You need to follow a process. There's no magic hack. There's no magic shortcut that you can take. But this is not only going to improve your IELTS scores, but when you move to that English-speaking country of your dreams, you're going to be able to have a much richer life, because you'll be able to actually communicate with people effectively, because that is what having a wide-ranging vocabulary will help you do. So I've added all of this information into a free guide for you. So if you go to IELTSadvantage.com/vocabulary, so if you put that into Google or put it into your browser, you'll go to this page, scroll down, click on this button, and you can add in your email and your name, and you can download it pretty much immediately. Range and accuracy are the two things that the examiner will be thinking about when they're assessing your vocabulary on test day. And there's a huge misconception about what range actually means. So we're going to look at what the most popular IELTS blog and the most popular YouTube video have to say about this, and why this is totally wrong, why most students are getting this wrong, and simple free methods that you can use to actually improve your vocabulary range to a band 7, 8, or even 9. So let's start off with the difference between range and accuracy. Accuracy refers to, are the words spelled correctly? Is the meaning correct? Are the collocations correct? And we're not really going to focus on that today in this video, because the biggest problem that we see at IELTS Advantage is students misunderstanding range and what range actually means. And this isn't actually the student's fault. Let's look at whose fault this actually is. Right? Most online resources, most teachers, not all teachers, but most of them are giving this kind of advice. All you have to do to get a band 9 is learn lots of complex words, put those complex words into your essay, and you will magically get a high score. Well, that is not the case. And what this kind of advice does is it spawns stuff like this. So if you go onto YouTube and you look at the most popular YouTube video on vocabulary, this video has millions and millions of views. What they tell you is all you have to do is memorize words like this: mesmerize, dilemma, plethora, recapitulate. Insert those into your essay and you will magically get a high score. This is not what range means. And if your teacher is teaching you that, then they simply do not understand the official marking criteria that the examiners use. So what do we do instead? How can we actually improve our vocabulary to a band 9 level? Well, what I've done here is I've divided the page into the 4 most common writing task 2 topics. Education and health are very, very common. Technology, the environment, these are not the only topics that you might get on test day for task 2, but they are very, very common. So let's imagine that we get a question like this: many students now learn online. What are the advantages and disadvantages? So if we just decided to say, these days online learning is mesmerized by students and this poses a big dilemma because of a plethora of resources, and to recapitulate, blah, 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 that is not going to work, because it's not actually using the vocabulary that we normally use to discuss this topic. If we get this book, so this is just a random book on this topic that was on my bookshelf, and we go to the first page, we go to the introduction. What I've done here is I've underlined the topic specific words. So what are topic specific words? These are words that we need to use in order to discuss this topic: teaching online, online education, internet, online learning, online courses, instructors, learners, teaching online, course, on the web, mobile apps, e-learning. All of these words are very, very topic specific. But if we compare them with these words, they are actually quite simple. And a huge misunderstanding is that range means using lots of complex words. And the more complex words you use, the higher your score. And the more simple words you use, the lower your score. This is again a complete misunderstanding of the marking criteria, because what the people at IELTS will do is, in the writing test and the speaking test, they will ask you a range of different topics, And what they will be testing is, do you have enough of these topic specific words, a range of these different words, in order to answer these different types of topics? That is what range is really referring to. And if you look at these words, let's write them down here. None of these words are actually very, very complex, like learners, teaching, internet, course. These are very, very simple words, but it's impossible to write an effective essay without using these simple topic-specific words. So at IELTS Advantage, on our VIP course, we do not give students a list of complex words. What we do is we do something completely different, and we're going to show you that at the end of this lesson. So let's look at the topic of health, and let's look at another book called Lifespan. It is about why we age and why we don't have to. So let's create a task 2 question. So many people have longer lifespans than others. What are the causes? What can we learn from this? Okay, so this book is by Dr. David Sinclair. He's a PhD. He's one of the leading professors at Harvard Medical School. So he's not going to be using very simple, dumbed down language, and this is quite a difficult book to read. But if we were to go into this book and look for some topic-specific vocabulary, this is what we would find: active lifestyle, healthy diet, quality of life, stress, longevity. So again, even though this is a professor from Harvard Medical School writing about quite a complex topic, most of the vocabulary that he uses is actually quite simple. None of these words and phrases are actually very, very complex. But what they are completely linked to the question. It is impossible to answer this question effectively without using these topic-specific words. It would be impossible to use these words to answer this question effectively. You could go on. This is a book about social media and its effect on our ability to focus and to work. This is by Cal Newport. I believe he's a professor at MIT, the leading science and engineering university on the entire planet. But if we look at this book and the vocabulary that he uses to talk about technology, again, it is not that complex. He uses words like focus, distractions, concentration, notifications, productivity. Just like these, they are not complicated, complex words. They are topic-specific words. Do you need a whole library of books in order to learn this vocabulary? No, absolutely not. Let me jump into my computer and show you where you can find topic-specific vocabulary for free and in a place anybody can access. Okay, so if we go to the BBC News and we go over here to the little hamburger menu. Sometimes the menu is at the top. It shouldn't be too difficult to figure out, but don't look at the headlines. The headlines are normally not useful for our purposes. What we want to do is dig in to these news topics. So these are the main news topics. And as you can see, education, health, science, technology, these are the 4 most popular Task 2 topics. So what you can do is you can click into any of these Let's start off with science. So we're going into science and the environment. The environment is a very, very common topic. There's also some science-related topics, but mostly it's related to the environment for obvious reasons. If we have a look here at the very first news story, will I still be able to fly in a net zero world? So if we click into this, what this is talking about is reducing our carbon emissions to zero and the effect that this will have on our lifestyle, specifically about flying. Transportation is another very common topic. So if we were to read through this and pick out the topic-specific vocabulary, so lifestyle, goal of net zero, carbon emissions, just in the first sentence, it's filled with these topic-specific words. So what we get our VIP students to do is simply go to the BBC News each day, find at least one story that could be a Task 2 question, identify the topic-specific words, and then note these topic-specific words down, add enough information so that they can remember them, and then review them later. And they're able to then use those in their essays to effectively answer the question. What we do not do is give them a list of complex words, because that simply does not work, and that is a misinterpretation of the marking criteria. Recently, I asked some of our students who got a Band 8 or Band 9, how do they use vocabulary? And one of the key things that they do is they use one of these 4 techniques for reviewing and remembering and then using vocabulary. And these 4 techniques, I'm going to share them with you today, and anyone can use them just using these easy things that all of you have. Okay, so the first technique that I'm going to show you is something called matching. So get your piece of paper and write some of the words that you have recently discovered. So here we have innovate, develop, device, modify, breakthrough, obsolete, intuitive, and censorship. So this student was reading an article on technology and they noticed these new words. So they wrote down these new words in their vocabulary notebook. And one of the review techniques that we show them is we get them to write synonyms of each of these words beside the new words that they have learned. So not only are they learning one new word, they're learning an additional new word that is a synonym. Synonyms are extremely important, not only for writing and speaking, but also for reading and listening too. So how we get the students to remember these words is we get them to cut up these new words and make them into cards. And what you can do is you can spread these out, and what you do is you match them. All right, so we have antiquated. All right, which one is antiquated? Obsolete. All right, and we could check the meaning of those. So the meaning is on the back. Obsolete means not in use anymore. Antiquated, not in use anymore. So this is correct. And then we match these up, and then we just keep going. So modify, develop, no, breakthrough, no, adapt. So adapt, the verb adapt, and modify, these match together. And then we just keep going until we have matched all of them together. And this is really going to help you remember these synonyms. So the second technique is we have the meaning of these words on the back of these cards. So what you could do is put these with the word facing down and the meaning facing up. So we'll just use a few of them. And then what you can do is you can just read the meaning of the word and then, okay, what is that word? So simple to use, intuitive, yeah, I got that one correct. Not in use anymore, obsolete, yeah, I got that one correct. Using new methods or ideas, original, no, innovative. Okay, so by doing that, I am checking the meaning and remembering the meaning. The next thing that we can do is we can categorize these words. So there's different things that we could categorize. We could categorize them by topic. So let's say you have some words that are related to technology, some words are related to education, some words are related to the environment. You could categorize them by that. Or you could categorize them by word form. There are nouns, adjectives, and verbs here. So device is a noun. So we're going to put the nouns here. Original is an adjective. Develop is a verb. Obsolete, adjective. Restriction, noun. Discovery, noun. As you can see, we are just categorizing them by the different word types, the different word forms. You could even categorize by pronunciation or number of synonyms. There's lots of different things that you can do to categorize. And categorization really helps our brains remember and then use these words effectively on test day. But we do always need to remember that we are not going to simply remember these words. Remembering the words is okay for listening or reading, but remember, for speaking and writing, we actually have to use these words. So how we can do that is we could take some of these words and tell a story. So let's take just a few of these words randomly. This was actually done to me in a job interview once. When I was applying for a job as a lawyer, they gave me 4 random words and says, okay, create a story. So let's take 4 random words. So we're going to have this one, obsolete, this one, modify, this one, restriction, and this one, innate. And then what you could do is think about the meaning of these words and then create just a very short story that uses these words effectively. So you could practice your writing doing this, or you could practice your speaking doing this. And you could actually record yourself on your phone and listen back and think about, did I use these words effectively or not? So what I would like you to do in the comments, pause the video. Can you write a story, or 1 or 2 paragraphs using these words effectively? I'm going to think about this for about 10 seconds and then create my own story. So I recently switched from an iPhone to a Google phone. The reason why I did that is lots of people said that when you switch to a Google or an Android phone, you can do lots of modifications. You can modify many of the things within the ecosystem. Because the problem with iPhones is they put lots of restrictions in place, and they restrict the amount of things that you can change in the operating system. However, after using my Google phone for about a week, it was pretty obsolete for me because I was so used to iOS and the operating system that it just made using the Google phone useless, and I couldn't use it at all because I've been so used to using this operating system for so long that it is innate and so intuitive and easy for me to use the iPhone that I had to switch back. So as you can see, what I did was just take those 4 words randomly, and believe me, this is random. I didn't spend 2 hours thinking of that story, as you could probably tell from how bad the story was. And it doesn't matter how good the story is. It doesn't need to be a Hollywood blockbuster level story. All you're trying to do is just understand how to use these words in a sentence, and then you'll be able to remember them. That is far more effective than what most students do. What most students do is they get long lists of vocabulary with the word and then maybe the meaning and then maybe the translation into their native language. I don't know any other language other than English, so I'm not going to try that one. But they just read these lists of words, and this is useless. You're not going to remember words by just reading them and the meaning, and never use the translation, because that causes all sorts of problems on test day. You're going to be translating rather than actually thinking in English. Band 8, Band 9 students think in English. That is a huge difference between someone struggling at a Band 5, Band 6 level and someone getting a Band 8 or Band 9. Band 8, Band 9 students do stuff like this they don't do stuff like this. Because doing stuff like this forces your brain to think in English and use English. This is easy. Anything easy doesn't help you improve. This is a little bit more difficult, but as you can see, it's pretty fun. You could play a game, you could play this with other people, you could play it in the classroom if you're at a school. And the key, it's going to help you remember all these new words. And if you did this once a day, you know, how many words are here? There's not that many. If you did this every single day, learned, 10 new words every day, after 10 days, you have hundreds and hundreds of new words. And then you're able to play even more games, review them even more, match even more, categorize even more, tell more stories. You could write a whole essay just using these words. So I hope you enjoyed that guide to vocabulary. We also have ultimate guides for speaking and listening. So if you want those, click here.